लाईव्ह
सिंगल कॅमेरा काय मीटिंग
लाईव्ह कॅमेरा लाईव्ह पण स्ट्रीम
माझं पण लाईव्ह आहे, दादांच्या अकाउंटवर लाईव्ह आहे, प्रदेश दादा दोन्ही लाईव्ह आहे.
Yes.
Yeah, so the feed is fine in it because we're taking your feed
Yes.
for the minute.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to see you all here today.
Yes.
To begin this very special program, may I request Shri Mehta, President MCCIA, to present a welcome memento to Honorable Minister Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, Minister of Civil Aviation and Steel, Government of India. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to see you all here today.
Yes.
To begin this very special program, may I request Shri Mehta, President MCCIA, to present a welcome memento to Honorable Minister Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, Minister of Civil Aviation and
Thank you, sir.
Government of India. May I also request Shri Prashant Girbani, Director General, to present a welcome memento to Honorable Minister Shri Chandrakant Dada Patil ji, Cabinet Minister, Government of Maharashtra. Minister of Civil Aviation.
Thank you, sir.
Government of India. May I also request
Now,
may I request Mr. Mehta, President MCCI, to present a welcome memento to Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Girish Bhatt.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Girbani, Director General, MCCI, to deliver his
Request
welcome.
Mr. Mehta, President MCCI, to present a welcome memento to
Thank you,
Honorable
sir.
Member of Parliament, Shri Girish Bhatt.
सर्वप्रथम टाळ्यांच्या गजरात पुढे ठेव टाळ्यांच्या गजरात आपण स्वागत करूया केंद्रीय विमान वाहतूक व पोलाद खात्याचे माननीय मंत्री महोदय श्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया यांचं. सर्वप्रथम मंत्रीजी, दिल्लीमध्ये आपण आम्हाला भेटायला वेळ दिली, टाळ्यांच्या आपण आमचं आमंत्रण स्वीकारलं आणि आज आपण इथं आला त्याबद्दल या सर्व पुणेकरांच्या वतीनं आपले खूप खूप आभार आणि आपले स्वागत आहे. आपण स्वागत करूया केंद्रीय विमान वाहतूक व पोलाद खात्याचे माननीय मंत्री महोदय श्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया यांचं. महाराष्ट्र राज्याचे उच्च व तंत्रशिक्षण मंत्री दिल्लीमध्ये माननीय श्री चंद्रकांतदादा पाटीलजी, आपण पुण्यातून आमदार आहात आणि आज इथं महाराष्ट्र राज्य सरकारचे प्रतिनिधी उपस्थित आहात. आपले मनपूर्वक स्वागत आहे. दादा आमचं आपल्यासोबत महाराष्ट्राच्या उद्योग व कृषी उद्योग या विषयाबद्दल सकारात्मक आणि कार्यान्वित पाटील चर्चा राहिलेली आहे. पुन्हा खूप धन्यवाद त्यासाठी. आणि आज याचबरोबर आपले पुण्याचे खासदार श्री गिरीश भाऊ बापटजी, पुण्याच्या विमानतळाच्या विषयासंदर्भात असो किंवा इतर विषयात दादा त्यांनी मला नेहमी सक्रिय असं सहकार्य दिलेलं आहे. त्यामुळे गिरीश भाऊंचं स्वागत आहे या व्यासपीठावरती. I must also welcome each and every one of you here, including the past sessions of MCCI, board members and executive committee members. I welcome many thought leaders who have gathered here आणि पुण्याचे सुज्ञ नागरिक ज्यांना नेहमीच अशा कार्यक्रमांविषयी एक आकर्षण असतं आणि ज्यांना आज ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया साहेबांचं जे ॲड्रेस आहे ते ऐकायची खूप इच्छा आहे. Mantriji, you would already have heard a few things about MCCI, but I will not take more than a minute to talk about it. The Chamber of Commerce was established in 1930 1934, 88 years ago, by Shri disciple of Lokmanya Tilak, and few others. It all started from Kesriwada. Shri Bhatt, who was the founder, he contributed for the first 3 decades, and over a period of time, likes of Rahul Bajajji, Shantrao Kirloskar, by these veterans were the president of this prestigious chamber, and few others. So this chamber has more than 3,000 companies as its members. In a given year, we organize about 250 odd activities, and more than 6,000 companies come and engage with this chamber. Rahul Bajajji. So many of the central and state government schemes that are there, the president of this work with the central and state government to take forward those schemes to the industries, to the MSMEs, to the agri-businesses. In a given year, there are many examples, but I won't take much time. Likes of Nafari, Auto Cluster, NEC of Electronic Cluster, all of these are done with support from the central government. So thank you so much as a representative of central government for helping us take the schemes of central government to the people of Pune and Maharashtra. As you all appreciate, this is a momentous occasion for more than one reason. But because you are all very keen to listen to Mantriji, I will just mention 2 very quick reasons. Thank you so much. It's our first opportunity to host Honorable Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, whose name alone inspires the people of Maharashtra, especially here in Pune. Pune, that was the seat of the Maratha Empire, where the great Mahatma Shinde ji, who was the commander-in-chief. So the name itself is so inspiring. Second, so your vision of the civil aviation sector that will catapult India's rapid growth, inspiring for all of us Indians. Pune has always contributed to nation building. The great Mahatma Shinde and Mantriji, we Punekars could hope that Pune's civil aviation also could have an opportunity to significantly contribute to your national vision. With that, I will not take much time. Once again, let me welcome the dignitaries on and off the dais. And now, I request President of NCCI, Shri Sudhir Mehta, to deliver his introductory remarks. Also, would have an opportunity to significantly contribute to your national vision. With that, I will not take much time. Once again, let me welcome the dignitaries on and off the dais. And now, I request President of NCCI,
Hon'ble Shri Jyotiraditya, our mentor in Pune, Dada Patilji, Girishji Bapat. Today is a very special day for NCCIA and also for me personally, and let me welcome the Honorable Minister. This is an event that we have been looking forward to for quite some time for many reasons. And first and foremost, let me start by thanking him and the department for all the support that we got during the COVID pandemic. So you may not be fully aware of this, but the NCCIA was involved very much in the COVID pandemic. And during the second wave, I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. I have to tell you this one short story. Million without a fully functional international airport. And this is why our request to you, sir, is about the Pune airport. Let me make a couple of very specific recommendations why do we believe this can happen. This Today the Pune airport has only one international connectivity, which is Dubai, which is a low-cost carrier. Our request, sir, is that we can have 4 different flights. Today the Pune airport has the major destinations. First is Dubai. Here again, we used to have a flight of the international carrier have suspended. Our request is if one of the full service carriers, like either Emirates or Air India or Vistara, can be allowed this flight to give a connection to that part of the world. Second, sir, is Pune, Singapore. We have spoken to the CEO of Vistara and we have officially applied for a Pune, Singapore flight, which used to be there earlier. And I believe the pre-approvals were already given. And sir, if this can be granted approval, from 1st October of this year, we can have a Pune, Singapore flight, which will be a great use for business connectivity in that area. Third is Pune, Doha. Here again, we have spoken to Indigo and Indigo has officially applied for a Pune, Doha connection. If we can get permission for that, then we have a connection through to Doha, which is again is very useful for IT companies wanting to move to the US. And the fourth is a possible flight from Pune to Bangkok, which can connect us connections through to Doha. So with these 4 flights, which can actually go to be started from the current airport, and all the slots are available. The airport director is also here, and he will confirm that he is very willing to give these slots. We can have 4 international connections within the next 3 months. Second, sir, my request is that today with the airport we are allowing us 8 slots. We can have 4 international connections. So Pune airport is one of the busiest in the country, and most of these flights that we have today actually are running completely full. If we can, through your good offices, get permission from the airport to increase the number of slots we get per hour flights during the 16 hours of the day hours, then we can start sending more through your good offices. This again can be done within the current airport infrastructure. The civil aviation officers have confirmed that this is something which is possible, and this would add 16 more flights per day. I think the combination of both of these, which is to add these 4 international flights and 10 and 16 domestic flights, all of which can happen within the next 2 months, will continue to transform both of the economic landscape. We have everything going for us. We are the number 1 vaccine exporter in the world. We are the number 1 engineering exporter in the world. You visited Symbiosis, you saw what educational hub Pune is for us. And if we can take these first steps, then we can completely transform and take our next steps. And I can guarantee you that from the next 5 years, the Pune GST and other payments will probably go ahead of Hyderabad. We can completely transform and take our next steps. And I can guarantee the second issue which I want to raise is the issue of the runway of the current airport. Probably go ahead. So here again, the current runway can be extended both in the east and the second side. The proposals for the extension of the eastern side have already been made and are available to the government. The cost of the same is about 200 crores. I hope for state government and the central government can agree, but I will go one step further. As industry, as citizens of Pune, we would be quite okay if the user fees levy and 200 crores can be collected in form of user fee. And same expansion of the runway can take place within the next 6 months, which will allow wider body aircraft to be able to land on Pune. The second part of that, which is slightly more tricky, is the western side of the runway, which also can be expanded 6 months. But for this, a survey has to be done, which I think some official permissions are required. And once that ONS survey is done, then we can ascertain whether the western side also can be expanded. But for this, a survey has to be done, which I think some official permissions. So, sum and substance of this is that if we can expand the runway, if we can have more domestic and more international flights, this can all be done within the gambit of the current airport. The last request, of course, that I want to make is that for Pune we need more than one airport. For 30 million people, possibly 2 to 3 airports are required. I've seen the fantastic job that you have done in Madhya Pradesh. I had a factory in Indore, I have 3 factories there. I lived there for 15 years. I know what a change international air connectivity can bring. 10 years ago when we used to come to Pune, I always used to wonder about the air connectivity. Now when I go to Indore, I'm always pleasantly surprised because I can go to Indore and take a flight to Dubai. I hope we can do the same from Pune. thank you again for your time. We have specific proposals for all of these, and we hope that these will request for your due consideration. And within the next few months, we will be able to see a different dimension to the Pune airport. Thank you again for your time. Thank you to Dada, and thank you to Girish Baparji for also being here today.
आज दुग्ध शर्करा योग आहे, त्यामुळे आपल्यासोबत चंद्रकांत दादाजी सुद्धा आहेत. आय रिक्वेस्ट चंद्रकांत दादाजी टू प्लीज ॲड्रेस.
सुरुवातीलाच मी आपल्या सगळ्यांची दिलगिरी व्यक्त करणार आहे, कारण आज एकाच दिवशी शहरामध्ये केंद्रीय मंत्री नितीनजी गडकरी आहेत, मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथजी शिंदे पण आहेत, उपमुख्यमंत्री देवेंद्रजी आहेत आणि स्वतः ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधियाजी पण आहेत. तर सकाळपासून माझी सर्कस चालली आहे. गडकरींबरोबर एक रिव्ह्यू मीटिंग अटेंड केली, ज्याचा उल्लेख मी करणार आहे, तर त्याचा संबंध आपल्याशी आहे. तर ती करून मी सिम्बॉयसिसमध्ये त्यांना जॉईन झालो. आता मला माझं मनोगत व्यक्त करून लगेच मुख्यमंत्री आणि उपमुख्यमंत्र्यांना जॉईन व्हायचं. प्रामुख्याने स्टॅम्प्स म्हणजे IGRची एक नवीन मोठी इमारत आपण उभी करतो महसूल विभागामध्ये, त्याची पायाभरणी येत आहे. तेव्हा आजच्या या मराठा चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स इंडस्ट्रीज अँड ॲग्रिकल्चरच्या केंद्रीय मंत्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधियाजींबरोबरच्या इंटरॅक्शनच्या कार्यक्रमाला व्यासपीठावर उपस्थित स्वतः माननीय मंत्री महोदय, आपल्या शहराचे सगळ्यांशी अतिशय जवळून संबंध असणारे खासदार गिरीशजी बापट, सुधीरजी मेहता, प्रशांत गिरवाणे, म्हणजे एक एक चेहरे मी पाहतोय की ज्यांनी ह्या शहराच्या आर्थिक उभारणीमध्ये फार मोठं कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट केलेलं आहे. असे एकापेक्षा एक सर्व मान्यवर उद्योगपती बंधू आणि भगिनी. मी तर सुरुवातीला आपल्या सगळ्यांचं खूप मनापासून आभार हा शब्दसुद्धा अपुरा पडेल, ऋण व्यक्त करेन की कोविडमध्ये अतिशयोक्ती नाही आहे, परंतु ज्या एका 4-5 घटकांमुळे हे शहर वाचलं, त्याच्यामध्ये आपलं कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन हे खूप मोठं आहे. म्हणजे केवळ आर्थिक मदत असं नाही, तर जी जी रिक्वायरमेंट कोविडच्या काळामध्ये निर्माण होत होती त्या सगळ्या रिक्वायरमेंटला तुम्ही काही ना काही उत्तर शोधत होता. तसं ऑक्सिजन म्हणजे सेकंड कोविडमध्ये अशी स्थिती आली की पुणे शहरामध्ये आता रस्त्यावरच चिता लावायला लागतात की काय, रस्त्यावरच प्रेतं जाळावे लागतात की अशी स्थिती आली. आणि त्या मृत्यूचं जास्त कारण हे ऑक्सिजन कमी पडत होता. आणि मग त्यावेळेला तुम्ही जबाबदारी उचलली आणि असं ठरवलं की बा ऑक्सिजन क्रिएशन प्लॅन्टवर आम्ही भर देणार. आणि सुधीरजी तुमचे नेते म्हणजे आपल्या सगळ्यांचे नेते झपाटल्यासारखे कामाला लागले आणि कुठे अशा प्रकारचे ऑक्सिजन क्रिएशन प्लॅन्ट आहेत ते कसे आपल्याला तिथून उचलून आणता येतील, मग त्याच्या पैशाचं काय करायचं, असं खूप मेहनत आपण घेतली. पहिल्या कोविडमध्ये तर व्हेंटिलेटर इतके लागतच नव्हते, त्यामुळे त्याचं प्रचंड शॉर्टेज होतं. तर म्हणजे आकडेवारी ते जास्त व्यवस्थित सांगू शकतील की या शहर आणि जिल्ह्याचं मेडिकल इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर किमान 10 टाइम्स मोर जे वाढलं, त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला सगळ्यांचं कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन खूप मोठं आहे. त्या काळातल्या इंटरॅक्शनमध्येच हा विषय आला की ठीक आहे, इंडस्ट्री या शहराच्या विकासासाठी खूप करत असते, पण व्हॉट अबाउट इंडस्ट्रीज डेव्हलपमेंट, त्यांचे प्रश्न आहेत, त्यासाठी काय करता येईल. तर त्याच्यामध्ये मी 1-2दा आलो स्वतः इथे आणि आपल्या सगळ्यांबरोबर चर्चा केली एका छोट्या ग्रुपमध्ये. त्यात असं लक्षात आलं की विमानतळ ही मोठी समस्या आपल्या सगळ्यांची आहे. जे मोठं विमानतळ आपण व्हिज्युअलाइज करतो आहे त्याच्या बाबतीतले विषय आपल्याला माहिती आहे की आधी ते पुरंदर ठरलं, तेवढ्यात सरकार गेलं, मग नवीन साईट ठरली गेली, ती नवीन साईट ही केंद्राने नाकारली आणि आता हा सगळा हँगिंग विषय आहे की नवीन एअरपोर्ट कुठे होणार आहे. पुन्हा एकदा गव्हर्नमेंट आलं आहे, त्यामुळे काय कसं होईल ते बघूया. परंतु आपल्या सगळ्यांची डिमांड अशी आहे की तोपर्यंत आहे ते एअरपोर्ट नीट करून द्या. आणि म्हणून मग एक बैठक ज्योतिरादित्यजींबरोबर दिल्लीमध्ये झाली आहे. गिरीशजी सातत्याने त्यांचा पाठपुरावा करत असतात, पण मी सारखं त्यांच्या मागे लागलो होतो की काहीतरी निमित्त काढून पुण्यामध्ये तुम्ही या, त्या सगळ्या समस्या आहेत का, आणि मग दिल्लीमध्ये बैठक करतात. प्रश्न पुण्यात संपत नाही, प्रश्न दिल्लीमध्ये संपतो. सगळे कन्सर्न ऑफिसर बरोबर लागतात. तर मी एक शब्द देऊन माझ्या शेवटच्या मुद्द्याकडे जातो. तो शब्द असा आहे की ज्यावेळेला कोल्हापूर एअरपोर्टच्या विस्तारीकरणाचा विषय आला त्यावेळेला केंद्राने असं म्हटलं की बा याच्यामध्ये महाराष्ट्राने कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट केलं पाहिजे. आम्ही ते मान्य केले आणि 273 कोटीचा कोल्हापूरच्या विमानतळाच्या विस्तारीकरणाचा प्रस्ताव आला की ज्यात 80 कोटी महाराष्ट्राने द्यायचे. मला आजही तो प्रसंग आठवतो की आता जे राज्यसभेवर गेले धनंजय महाडिक ते मी आणि त्यांचा भाऊ त्यावेळेला चुलत भाऊ आमदार होता अमल महाडिक, असे आम्ही देवेंद्रजींकडे गेलो आणि देवेंद्रजी कुठल्याही कार्यक्रमाला वेगाने बाहेर पडत होतो. गॅलरीत उभं राहून त्यांनी 80 कोटी रुपयावर सही केली आणि आता आमचं कोल्हापूर विमानतळाचं विस्तारीकरण खूप वेगाने चाललेलं आहे. आणि त्यामुळे मी ज्योतिरादित्यजींना प्रॉमिस करतो की याच्यामध्ये महाराष्ट्राचा जो रोल असेल आर्थिक तो आम्ही नक्की ती जबाबदारी आमची मानू. परंतु आता इथल्या विमानतळाला नीट करणं गिरीजींचा आता हा नेहमीचा आग्रह राहिला की ते मोठं विमानतळ नंतर बघू हे तर नीट करा. तर त्यात राज्याचं कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन लागेल ते आम्ही नक्की देऊ. दुसरा मुद्दा आपला जो आहे तो प्रामुख्याने बाकी इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरचा आहे. तर आज नितीनजींनी येऊन जवळजवळ 5-6 प्रोजेक्टचा आढावा घेतला आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये चांदणी चौकामधला 6 लेन जेव्हा पूर्ण होईल तेव्हा सगळे ट्रॅफिकचे प्रॉब्लेम हायवेचे संपायचे. तर तो प्रामुख्याने लँड ॲक्विजिशनवर अडकला होता. आता 9 जागांपैकी 7 मिळाल्या, 2 राहिल्या आणि जवळजवळ असं प्लॅनिंग चाललेलं आहे की ह्या डिसेंबरपर्यंतच मेजर पार्ट पूर्ण व्हावा. बैठकीनंतर स्वतः नितीनजी तिथे स्पॉटवर व्हिजिट द्यायला गेले होते, त्याच्यामुळे आणखीन काही लक्षात आलं असेल. मेजर विषय आपला आहे पुण्यातल्या इंडस्ट्रियलायझेशन तो रिंग रोडचा आहे, ज्याची ॲक्विजिशन लँड ॲक्विजिशनची कॉस्टच 10,000 कोटी रुपये आहे. आणि त्यामुळे एक मोठा प्रश्न आहे. पण नितीनजी स्टाईलने त्यांनी खूप सोल्युशन्स मांडली. त्यांनी असं म्हटलं की स्टेट गव्हर्नमेंटने काही लँड्स आम्हाला नॅशनल हायवेला द्याव्यात की ज्याच्यावर आम्ही लॉजिस्टिक पार्क उभं करू, त्याची कॉस्ट तुम्हाला क्रेडिट करू आणि त्या क्रेडिटमधून आम्ही तुम्हाला लँड ॲक्विजिशनसाठी पैसे देऊ, पण काहीतरी कॉस्ट तुम्ही तुमची तयारी ठेवली पाहिजे. लगेच असं ठरलेलं आहे की प्रामुख्याने पुणे कमिशनर, पुणे कलेक्टर, पुणे विभागीय कमिशनर आणि PMRDचे कमिशनर अशा आणि पिंपरी चिंचवड कमिशनर अशांची एक कमिटी बनवून रिंग रोड या विषयामध्ये प्रॅक्टिकॅलिटी काय आहे. तर रिंग रोड झाल्याशिवाय पुण्यामध्ये अनावश्यक वाहनं येत आहेत, मोठी वाहनं ती थांबणार नाही. तर हा 10,000 कोटी केवळ लँड ॲक्विजिशनला लागणार आहे. मग त्याच्या क्रिएशनला किमान 13,000 कोटी लागतात. तर 23,000 कोटीचा ॲम्बिशियस प्रोजेक्ट जर पूर्ण झाला तर आपल्याला पुण्यातल्या ट्रॅफिकच्या दृष्टीने खूप मोठं सोय होईल, इंडस्ट्रीला फायदा होईल. त्याचाही पाठपुरावा मी करेन. असे महाराष्ट्र शासनाशी संबंधित इंडस्ट्रीशी जोडलेले सगळे विषय मी पूर्ण करेन असा शब्द आपल्याला देतो. आणि देवेंद्रजी आणि मुख्यमंत्र्यांबरोबर जो कार्यक्रम विधान भवनाच्या समोर आहे त्या कार्यक्रमासाठी जायला आपली सगळ्यांची परवानगी होती.
धन्यवाद दादा. एक छोटंसं इंटरव्हेन्शन आहे प्रोग्राममध्ये. टाइम बिट ऑफ सरप्राईज एलिमेंट विल टेक ओनली 2 minutes, सो विल मेन्शन इट नाव. मंत्रीजी, आम्हा सर्वांची एक इच्छा आहे की सर्व पुणेकरांच्या वतीने मराठीत सांगतो. आमच्या सर्वांची एक इच्छा आहे पूर्ण पुणेकरांच्या वतीनं की कोविड काळामध्ये जे काही काम MCCI करू शकलं त्यामध्ये आपल्या मिनिस्ट्रीची आपली खूप खूप मदत झाली आहे. त्यामुळं आम्हा सर्व पुणेकरांतर्फे आपला खूप छोटासा सत्कार करायची आमची इच्छा, आपली परवानगी असेल तर कृपया. त्या सत्कारासाठी मी विनंती करणार आहे पुण्याचे खासदार गिरीश बापटजी आणि आपल्या सर्वांमधून एक व्यक्ती म्हणून प्रदीप भार्गवाजी. प्रदीप भार्गवाजी, इफ यू कॅन प्लीज कम ऑन द स्टेज. एक पगडी कोणते हे देर आर नो अवॉर्ड्स फॉर गेसिंग विच पगडी इट इज, बट गिरीश बापटजी आणि प्रदीप भार्गवाजींना विनंती करतोय की आपण मंत्री महोदयांना ही पगडी देऊन आपण त्यांचा सत्कार करूयात. ही शिंदेशाही पगडी आहे आणि आम्हा सर्वांना त्याचा खूप अभिमान आहे. हा सत्कार स्वीकारल्याबद्दल आपले खूप खूप आभार. आता आपल्याला विनंती करतो मंत्री महोदय की आपण आम्हा सर्वांना उद्बोधन करावं.
मंचवरती उपस्थित आमचे खासदार, त्यांच्याजवळ एक पारिवारिक संबंध माझा आहे. माझी वडिलांची होती, माझी आजी अम्माची होती, आदरणीय गिरीश बापट साहेब. हे संघटनेचा नेतृत्व क्षमता ज्यांच्या हातामध्ये आहे, आदरणीय सुधीर मेहता साहेब, प्रशांत गिरबाने साहेब, आणि हे कार्यक्रम आणि हॉलमध्ये उपस्थित आमचे सगळं बंधू आणि बांधव, सगळ्यांना नमस्कार. आणि माझ्या हृदयामध्ये एक भावनात्मक क्षण हे महाराष्ट्राच्या भूमीमध्ये उभरून एक भावना माझी मनमध्ये आहे. आता पाटील साहेब संग्रहालयात होते आणि त्यांच्या अगोदर मेहता साहेब पण भाषण झाली. हे राज्य, हे भूमी ची विशेषता महाराष्ट्राच्या इतिहासमध्ये नाही, देशाच्या इतिहासमध्ये स्वर्ण अक्षरांचा एक योगदान हे भूमीची आहे. महाराष्ट्राची कल्पना, महाराष्ट्राची एक विचारधारा ची सुरुवात झाली होती छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांच्या काळामध्ये. त्यांची विचारधारा होती एक हिंदवी स्वराज्याची विचारधारा, एक स्वतंत्रताची भारत माताची विचारधारा होती. आणि माझा संबंध एक पारिवारिक संबंध हे माटी जवळ आहे. आता मी बापट साहेब जवळ गोष्टी करून होता की आता सिम्बायसिस मध्ये कार्यक्रम माझा झाला, मजुमदार साहेब मंचवरती होते आणि फिरून मला विचारले की तुम्ही वडगाव गेला का. माझा उत्तर होता की माझा प्रयास आहे पुढच्या प्रवासमध्ये. आता बापट साहेब जवळ माझी गोष्टी झाली की पुढच्या प्रवासमध्ये महाराष्ट्रांच्या आणि मराठांचा भगवा झेंडाचा एक नवीन उदय झाली होती ब्रिटिश जवळ, आणि त्यांचे विरुद्ध रणभूमीमध्ये विजयश्री प्राप्त होती. पहिली बार मराठा फौजचा ते वडगाव स्मारक आज कोणी तिथे आहे, तर तिथे दर्शन करून डोका टोकायचा एक चेष्टा माझी मनमध्ये आहे. हे इतिहास महाराष्ट्राचा इतिहास आहे, पुणेचा इतिहास आहे. आणि माझ्या संबंधपणे बापटसाहेब जवळ माझी गोष्टी आता झाली, फार दिवस झाले बघा. माझी स्मृती हे शहराजवळ बचपनमध्ये माजी महाराजांची छत्रीमध्ये दर्शन करायला, पद्माविलास महलमध्ये आणि मांजरी स्टट फार्म आमची होती, हॉर्स रेसिंगमध्ये हर शनिवारी आणि रविवारी मुंबईवरून वडीलजवळ आईजवळ पुणे येऊन 2-3 दिवस इथे बसून त्याच्यानंतर वापस मुंबई जायचा एक कार्यक्रम आमचा होता. माझ्या स्मरण बचपनचे स्मरण आहे आणि बचपनचा एक लगाव शहराजवळ, आपणच्या जवळ. आणि आज मी आपल्याला विश्वास देतो की कायपणी सेवाचा अवसर आपण मला देणार, पूर्ण सेवा पुणेकरचा आणि पुणेच्या भूमीजवळ मी करणार हे विश्वास मी आपल्याला. There is a story behind this. And the story behind this is that Sudhirji has given me a lot of statistics. Pune having the potential of being a capital but not being a capital, from a population perspective, from an economic development perspective. But Sudhirji, let me also tell you that Pune, the story of Pune is not only about economics and population dynamics. It is also about the pulse and electricity that pulsates through the people of Pune. And that pulse and electricity that pulsates through the people of Pune creates sonic vibrations not only across the length and breadth of Maharashtra, not only across the length and breadth of India, but it would not be an exaggeration to say across the full world from the east to the west. That is the potential that I believe that my Pune city has at its core. And if you look at the emergence of Pune, from Shivaji Maharaj's time, from Raigad, Satara, Kolhapur, Pune became the center of power, political power, economic power. The center of philosophers, the center of thinkers, center of religion. It is not only the Pune of today, but through time, Pune has been able to express the capability of hard economic power combined with its capability of its soft adhyatmic shakti. And that is the potential that our city offers. And I call it my city because I have too many wonderful memories. I was telling Vidyaji while we were driving from the airport, I don't recognize the city. When I used to come here as a child, many years ago, I won't tell you the year because then you know how old I am. There were wide roads, but there wasn't this level of development. Beautiful large banyan trees that used to shade the full road, some of which we saw during our journey from the airport. Pune has always had not only the power of its economic metal, but Pune has had wonderful people, a wonderful lifestyle, a philosophy of caring and giving. And I must congratulate Sudhirji, I must congratulate all of you. The phenomenal effort that all of you put together during the second bout of COVID. That is the potential that Pune shows to our country and to the world. The way everyone can come together at a moment of crisis. There's that old saying in that movie, The Three Musketeers, all for one and one for all. That is the philosophy that Pune has. But Pune has transformed itself from a sleepy, beautiful hamlet into an economic powerhouse. And we are seeing representations of that today in front of me. Whether it is Vidyaji sitting here, Sudhirji sitting here, political leadership in the form of Bapadji, Patil Sahib, across the political spectrum. Any aspect of industry you talk about has leadership roots in Pune. Certainly auto, certainly engineering, but software, IT, healthcare, now artificial intelligence, media, creates creative areas. The capability that Pune has is tremendous. And therefore I'd like to compliment you today in terms of how far we have come in our journey. But we have much more to do. And in that exercise of what else we have to do, comes in my ministry, my charge, which is civil aviation and steel. Both extremely important in terms of being aspects of nation building. And I must again compliment Shri. The due diligence with which he has studied the aviation network for Pune almost looks as if it is a civil aviation ministry expert speaking during his address. The acronyms, the data, the number of operations, routing, and it is this effort that is required to take Pune to its new heights and new levels. Now let me tell you about the story of civil aviation. 30, 40 years ago, the cycle always used to be that only where there are growth centers in the country becomes the cause or the raison d'etre to set up an airport. Today that paradigm has turned on its head. It is civil aviation and airports that create growth centers across the world. And the Prime Minister realized that very early, during his first tenure. And let me give you a few statistics. In 2013 and 14, 70 years of India's independence roughly, we had 74 airports in our country. In 8 years, we have built an additional 67 airports, heliports and waterways. We have gone from 74 to 141. This is the journey from 2013-14 to Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. But the journey from Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav till to 27-28, we will go from 141 airports, heliports and waterdromes to 220 in our country. And similar is the case with regard to fleet. In 13-14, we had roughly 400 airplanes in our civil aviation fleet. Today we have close to 700. And we are going to grow on an annual basis close to 10 to 15% a year, which means you'll see capacity addition of almost 115 to 120 planes per year going forward. Now, where does that market potential come from? If you look at our population, we are a country of 1.3 billion people. Yet, in the last good year, pre-COVID, in 2019-20, we had 144 million travelers only, which means roughly about 11%, but that's in terms of trips. The number of discrete travelers will be much less than that, because there are many of us that make multiple trips in a year. Our closest competitor, which is the Indian Railways, and in the Indian Railways, you only look at the air-conditioned segment because the airliner perforce is air-conditioned. So only first AC and second AC, not the full gamut of railways. But first AC and second AC today carry 185 million passengers. So there's a delta of close to 40 million. But here's the catch. Railways is growing at a CAGR of 5.6%. Civil aviation is growing at a CAGR of 10.3%. In the next 10 to 15 years, civil aviation will become one of the mainstays, along with railways and national highways, for transportation infrastructure in our country. And the number that we have today of 144 million domestic and 60 million international, 200 million travelers totally, that number I see doubling by 2028, 2030 to almost 400 million travelers in India. That's the potential that we're looking at. Now, how do you harness this potential? I believe that you must look at the whole value chain across civil aviation. So not only things that are pertinent on this stage, which is international to domestic, or domestic tier 1 to tier 1 airports, metro to metro, but you must look at metro to tier 2, tier 3 airports, and from tier 2, tier 3 airports to the last mile solution. Which means you start with a 777 or an A380, you come to a narrow-bodied aircraft, which is a Boeing or an Airbus, Boeing 737 or an Airbus 320, and then you move to a smaller aircraft, whether it's ATR or sub-20-seater, and then move to the last mile solution, which is also helicopters. When you're able to provide this whole gamut across the civil aviation ecosystem, that's when you're going to see the real dividend of civil aviation coming into place. And that's the area that I'm concentrating on. We have just brought about a policy under the Prime Minister's prerogative, and this is his forward thinking. The first Prime Minister in our country to think about democratizing civil aviation for the common man. The Udan Yojana उड़े देश का आम नागरिक कि हवाई चप्पल पहनने वाला भी हवाई जहाज मिल जाए. What was considered earlier an elitist product becomes a ubiquitous product. What was earlier a low volume, high margin business should transform itself into a high volume, low margin business. So that penetration increases. So that people can avail of this facility. And through the Udan Yojana, we have connected so many hitherto unconnected places, wiped off the aviation map. We've connected Jharsuguda in Odisha. We've connected Darbhanga. We've connected Roopsi in Assam. We've connected Kishangarh in Rajasthan. We've connected Shivaji Maharaj's Sindhudurg in Maharashtra. So India is getting connected. And through Udan, we brought about a small aircraft scheme which is purely meant for small airplanes, sub-20 seaters. Our penetration of helicopters is abysmal. We only have 250 helicopters in our country, in a country of 1.3 billion people. I brought about a new heli policy to enable the proliferation of helicopters. I've done away with all RNFC charges and TNLC charges. I've put together a heli seva portal. So those multiple approvals that one has to take are all done away. We are using our Indian-made Dorniers to connect our advanced landing grounds in Arunachal Pradesh, so that connectivity becomes seamless. But that being said, it's also important to ensure that our metros, and there comes the point of addressing the issues of Pune. Bapat Sahab has been in touch with me on a regular basis. Sudhir ji has met with me and spoken with me. I've spoken to the earlier government in terms of proliferating civil aviation in Maharashtra. And more particularly, there are three issues which today are top of mind for us. The first is the number of slots. The second is international connectivity. And the third is bolstering cargo capability. So you bring across all arms of civil aviation, civilian and cargo, to work together seamlessly to provide that fillip in Pune. So let me take the first point. My first plea through you, Bapat Sahab, is to Patil Sahab, Fadnavis ji and Eknath Shinde ji, our Chief Minister, that if Pune wants to see greater development, a greater fillip, then the first thing that we have to do is make it viable for airline companies to fly to Pune. And what do I mean by that? You all represent industry. You understand very clearly what cost structure means, revenue structure means. Today, air turbine fuel comprises of almost 40% of the cost structure of airlines. When I took over, there were 12 states that charged between 1 to 4% on ATF, VAT on ATF. But there were 24 states and union territories that charge between 20 to 30% VAT on ATF. Now, for an industry where 40% of cost structure is air turbine fuel, and then ATF has gone from 53,000 rupees a kiloliter to 1,41,000 rupees a kiloliter, and then you pay 20 to 30% on that 1,40,000 rupees a kiloliter, how is it going to be possible for you to be viable to fly new routes, even in metros? So the first plea I have in the last 12 months, and the reason why I am making this request in this plea, is that Maharashtra has to step forward. We have always been the forebearers of development and progress paradigms and policies. In this area, we happen to be one of the laggards. And therefore, we need to press forward. Those 24 states that used to charge 20 to 30% of VAT, I wrote to every chief minister, I spoke with every chief minister, I met with every chief minister, I pleaded with every chief minister, I did exactly what you all do. I implored every chief minister, and I said, you must lower your VAT on ATF because you do not understand the number of economic multiplier and employment multiplier effects that you will get in your state if you lower VAT. You will get greater connectivity. You will get a connectivity dividend. You will get an economic dividend. Many of you have been students of economics. The Laffer curve argument, that if you lower tax rates, you get increasing compliance and increasing revenue. And therefore, at a lower tax rate, you will even get greater revenue than what you would get at a higher tax rate because of economies of scale. And that Laffer curve argument applies to civil aviation. Many states like Andhra, Kerala, and others, who in very early days, way before my time, had lowered VAT rates on ATF, got almost 15 to 20% greater connectivity. And I am pleased to report to you all today that out of the 22 state chief ministers I wrote to, today's report card, where I had 12 between 1 to 4% and 24 between 20 to 30% of VAT on ATF, today 16 from these 24 have moved to the 1 to 4% regime, and today I have 28 states in 1 to 4 and only 8 in the 20 to 30% regime. तालियां कम बजी? नहीं, मैं समझाता क्यों सुधी थी, क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र उन 1 राज्यों में से है जो 8 में बचा हुआ है. तो माझा निरोप आहेत आपण हे आमचे NCCIA चा इस्तेमाल करून मुख्यमंत्री जवळ, उपमुख्यमंत्री जवळ बापट साहेबला घेऊन जा आपण आणि हे व्हॅटला आपण कम करू द्या, त्याच्यानंतर जो आपणला पाहिजे मी आपणला देतो, हे माझा विश्वास आणि संकल्प. All of Maharashtra is 4%. Only Pune and Mumbai is 25%. Because, and you'll have to move, because the whole country is moving that way. If you don't move that way, the traffic is going to go to other states that have lowered that. So compliance today is the need of the hour. Now to come to your 3 demands. The first was on slots. I am pleased to report to you that the Ministry of Defence, with whom we work very closely, and I must thank Rajnath Singh ji from this month also. He has always been extremely helpful, extremely cooperative. His blessings are always with me and with the department. Have given additional 14 slots per day during prime time. So your Monday to Saturday slots in Pune, because this is a defence controlled airport, we have a civil office. Your Monday to Saturday slots have gone to from 102 to 116, and your Sunday slots have gone from 131 to 145. You asked me for 8 more slots, Rajnath Singh has given us 14 slots. The second demand had to do with connectivity. And it's a very justified demand. I am in fact extremely shocked to find that Pune has only connectivity to Dubai. We must increase international connectivity. And I will make it my job to follow up on your request. Connectivity to Singapore, Vistara has already applied to us, as you already said. We will make the process efficient to make sure we give Punekars connectivity to Singapore, both individually from Pune as well as from Delhi, to make sure that you have an international connectivity to Singapore, and we will certainly try for both Doha and for Bangkok. I also want to level with you and be very honest. Our Indian civil aviation industry was extremely nascent, and therefore we didn't have enough aircraft, enough airlines, but today we are reaching that stage. So it's also very important to ensure that India creates an international hub for herself. Today our hubs are not in India. Today our hubs are either in the Middle East, or the eastern part of the world, or the western part of the world. With 1.3 billion population, 144 million travelers, going along with international 200 million travelers, going to 400 million travelers, we must create a hub in India. And if that be our priority, then we have to be careful and give our airlines that room to grow as well. As far as Pune is concerned, in terms of points of call, we have declared Pune as a point of call for Germany, and therefore flights from Germany can also directly come to Pune. We have an open sky agreement along with the UK and the US, and therefore flights can directly come from both of these countries to Pune as well. And we will certainly work on those areas as well for Pune once we grab the low-hanging fruit of our part of the world and East Asia. Then we should certainly look beyond those boundaries as well for Pune. Finally, the issue with our airport. I want to commit to you. Today, our airport, our existing terminal's capacity is about close to 7.7 million per annum. We have already put in place execution on the new terminal building. That new terminal building will be ready in August of next year. So before the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav year completes, which will be 2023 August, that new terminal building will be ready and will take your capacity from the current 7.7 million to 17 million at a cost of 475 crores. Along with that, we have a multi-level car parking that we are developing at a cost of 120 crores. That multi-level car parking, as I just discussed with Bapat Sahab, will be ready post Dasera. It's a Shubh Avsar also, and we shall make sure that that multi-level car parking will be devoted to the citizens of Pune in the month of October, opening up a new vista of convenience for our people coming into the airport. The other point had to do with our cargo sector. Today, our current capacity of cargo in Pune is close to about 25,000 metric tons, divided between domestic and international. 17,000 metric tons domestic and 7,500 odd on the international side. It is our plan to put in place an international air cargo terminal in Pune, which will be ready by December 2024. But we will not wait until then. We are putting in place an integrated air cargo terminal prior to that international air cargo terminal coming up. And the integrated air cargo terminal will be ready by March next year, which will take our capacity on the domestic side from 17,400 metric tons to close to about 36,000 metric tons, almost doubling our capacity on the domestic side. Total capacity will be at close to about 43,000 metric tons. And that interim facility will allow us to bridge between the current limited facility and the integrated terminal that we will set up in the time to come. It is our imperative and our resolve to ensure that Pune grows, we will pull out all the stops that we have to make sure that we give the due to Pune, which it rightfully deserves, to make sure it becomes the industrial, economic, social, and soul capital of India in the days to come. Thank you very much for having me. One more point is about the runway. So we want to increase the length of the runway for wide-bodied aircraft. 250 meters on the western side. That issue is with the state government of Maharashtra. We are ready to proceed on that as soon as we get the green signal on that at a cost of roughly about 200 crores. On the western side, we want to increase the runway by 900 meters, and for that we are in dialogue with the IAF, Indian Air Force, and we shall also try and make that possible as soon as we can in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can we just conclude? Please have a, if you could please sit down. If you please sit down, because it will be inappropriate. आपल्या पुण्याच्या संस्कृतीला धरून नाही, प्रत्येकाने उठल्यानंतर त्रास होईल, त्यामुळे आपल्याला विनंती आहे की आपण कृपया थांबावं. I stand here to propose a vote of thanks and will conclude the program thereafter. माननीय मंत्रीजी, आपण आपल्या बालपणातला पुण्याचा संपर्क, आपल्या जोडल्या गेलेल्या भावना, आपली आत्मीयता याविषयी सांगितलं. हे आम्हा सर्वांसाठी खूप खूप महत्त्वाचं आहे. खूप खूप आम्हाला ऐकून आनंद झाला की आपल्या या शहराशी जोडले गेलेले जे कनेक्ट आहेत ते इथल्या बऱ्याच लोकांपेक्षाही जास्त आहेत, कारण आपल्या लहानपणीच्या ज्या भावना आहेत, लहानपणीचे जे संपर्क झालेले आहेत त्याविषयी सांगितलं आपण. आम्हा सर्वांसाठी तर शिंदे छत्री आहेत, जिथं आम्ही जातो, जिथं आम्ही आपला माथा टेकतो, जिथं आम्ही आम्हाला तसा आदर आहे, आम्हाला तसा सन्मान आहे, बहुमान आहे. या सर्वांसोबतच यू एक्सप्लेन्ड अस द विजन ऑफ सिव्हिल एव्हिएशन इन इंडिया. वी हॅड रेड इट, वी हॅड हर्ड इट, बट टू हिअर इट फ्रॉम यू, it's awe-inspiring, sir. It's awe-inspiring that for people who were thinking of only traveling in train someday would now aspire to travel by air in many, many parts of India. It's inspiring to hear about almost double the capacity in the last few years and again doubling it in the next few years, in the next couple of years almost. So this is all very, very inspiring for us as all Indians. For us as Punekars, thank you so much. We were just thinking, Sudhirji, possibly we should have asked few more things. We just asked few little things. I think whatever we asked, we got more than that. Thank you so much for that, sir. We would continue to work with the ministry to follow up on this and continue to assist through our Member of Parliament to make sure that we get to build this infrastructure for Pune as you envision. We would certainly work with Dada and Honorable CM of Maharashtra to request for the ATF reduction as well as the other aspects of land, which are the state government aspects. With that, we will have a huge round of applause to thank Honorable Minister. Thank you so much. I announce that the program is concluded. Many, many thanks. If media has any questions, you could ask right here. Mantriji would want to do it right here. We have made arrangement in the next room. Yeah, so media can get into the next room that we made arrangement for. Honorable Minister.